There it
All
goes.
right. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Trish, how are you today?
I'm doing great, McCall. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. You're coming to us from sunny Florida.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we're really excited to be talking with you today, not only because I really like hanging out with you and getting to hear your stories, and you're always one of the first asks when we need F2I poster children. So
Absolutely.
that's you. Um, but Justin did hint a couple of times yesterday that I was going to interview you. So I think there are some
Oh,
people that are already looking forward to it because they've heard a little bit about your story from Justin, but every time he shares it, he's like, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but something like this, something like this.
yes.
So we'll
Yes.
get the real details from you and also just a little bit of perspective and some tips. So thanks for making a little bit of time. I would love for you
Yeah.
to just introduce yourself a little bit non-businessy, just some
Okay.
things you
Yeah.
care about, some things about you. Go for
Now I'm businessy. Wow. I have to switch gears.
it.
I'm always in the business mindset these days.
Yeah.
So I'm Trish Marmo and I am non-businessy. I'm a 53-year-old mom of five and grandmaster of four. So I love hanging out on my paddleboard, spending time with my grandchildren. I'm in a season of life where I've got one child at home, and that frees up a lot of time, both for business pursuits and personal pursuits. So I'm just enjoying hanging out in Florida. I've been
Yeah.
back in my home state for about a month now. And I was out of my home state for, close to 28 years.
Hmm.
So being back here is a little surreal, but I'm loving every minute of it. So it's great.
Good. You're almost an
Yeah,
empty nester.
I
Is that
am.
what I'm hearing?
Yes, I have
Oh.
my son graduates, I believe, in 8 months, and then it'll be official. So I'm already starting to do things that have been on my list for a while. I just took up ballroom dance lessons.
Oh, so fun. So
Oh,
fun.
I'm so excited. I'm loving it. I'm actually thinking about competing. Um,
You'd be good at that. I'm not surprised. Some people I might have had a bigger reaction, but hearing that, I get it. I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Good stuff.
You'll be great at it. Okay.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna switch business
Okay,
gears a
back
little
into
bit.
business mind. Yes.
Hmm. And I'm leaving this as open-ended as you'd like to answer it. But the first question
Okay.
is, what was your first experience with Justin like?
Oh, well, it's interesting because there's a little bit of a backstory to my connection to Justin. I actually attended a live event. I believe it'll be 3 years ago this October that Justin was at. And so I saw him around the room. You do the sort of the courteous professional nod when you don't really know someone.
Mm.
I met his support team, and it was a really great experience. And it was one of those things that stuck in my mind uh, when I think about different conferences that I've attended. Um, there was just something different about Justin and his team that really stood out to me. And so fast forward 2 years later, I was at a point in my business where I was actually had given myself a self-imposed deadline of the end of the year, the end of 2020
Meaning
to
you're gonna shut down the business.
I was going to shut down the business. I was
Yeah.
going to fold up shop, and,
Wow.
I was thinking, okay, the people that I helped, I was so grateful that I had that opportunity. But beyond that, I felt had done all the things, and there was this one missing piece to the puzzle, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was frustrating me. So I made the decision. I made a a declaration, so it wasn't like something I was thinking about and could back out of. I said, December 31st, 2020 is the drop dead date. If I don't turn this ship around, I'm going to fold up shop, close my LLC, close my bank account, the whole 9 yards. Like,
Wow.
this is it. So, during that time, I was reintroduced to Justin by someone in his mastermind, and we hopped on a conversation, hopped on a call. And during the course of that call, he invited me to the October retreat in Wisconsin, and I don't know what possessed me. I was like, yeah, I'm in. Send me the details. It was out of character for me. I typically am very deliberate in my decision making. But this was something that I thought at this point, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I did not realize how that would really bear itself out. So that was the first of two really key decisions that I made that really just kind of blew the doors off my business, and I didn't even know that I was headed in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next question is a little bit more about that second decision. So you can give
Yes.
some context for that second decision, but the question is, how has your business changed since that first, the learning F2I content, really getting to that
Yes.
retreat? What's the
Yes.
difference?
Yes. Night and day. Absolutely night and day. So I made the decision to come to the retreat. I think we were in the midst of the pandemic. There was a question about whether or not the retreat was going to be able to take place. I think in August, things were really intense, pandemic wise. And I was beginning to think, oh my gosh, maybe this isn't going to happen. I will say that when I said yes to coming to the retreat, that was in June of 2020. So we were, newly into the pandemic, and when are things going to open up again? And I actually, the same day that I said yes to Justin, I booked my airplane ticket. So, wow. Yeah. So there was, the retreat location actually changed in August, and I already had I believe it was supposed to be in Colorado, and I had already purchased my ticket to Colorado.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I reached out to Justin. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a ticket to Denver, wherever. And now you're telling me it's possibly going to be in Wisconsin. So he was really helpful in, working with me on that, and we got it all sorted out. So to answer your question, when I came to the retreat, I really had an open mind. I had been listening to the messages that Justin had shared and really felt like he both brought something different to the table that I hadn't heard from other coaches before. And there was Justin just is very matter of fact and does a fantastic job of communicating what I think is complex information in a very simple, straightforward way. So when I got to the retreat, who I saw on the screen was the same person in person. And sometimes especially in social media, you'll meet someone and they present one way on social media, and then you meet them in person and you're like, oh, wow, wasn't expecting that. So I would say with Justin, what you see is what you get. And it's one of the things that I really love about him, because he doesn't pull any punches. So getting to Wisconsin and actually being in a room with him And hearing how he delivers his message and the way that he engages with people, it was just different than anything I'd ever experienced before. And I knew that I'd made a great decision, a wise investment.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I've
Thank
got,
you.
just so you know, while we're on this call, there's some people who are moving in some furniture into the room that I'm in right
Oh,
now. So if we get a little chaos, then I'm just gonna,
yeah. Just
that's what's
roll with
happening.
it. Yeah,
Re Justin always says, real life's happening out here.
that's right. That's
It is
right.
what it is. So
Yes.
how much had you sold before that retreat? And then what
Yeah.
happened after,
Yeah.
money, numbers
So
wise?
that's kind of the crazy thing. So prior to meeting Justin, back when I very first started my business, I had a 12-week program that I was selling for $27. And I have said that enough times in the past 9 months now that it doesn't feel as embarrassing as the very first time I said that at
Right,
the retreat.
right.
But most people don't want to share that kind of information because it's embarrassing. It makes you feel like, what's wrong with me that, that I was only selling my program for $27 a month. So up until the point that I met Justin, I was not profitable in my business. I was serving my clients and serving them well. And the
Mhm.
people that I served were getting a great deal.
Very
Um,
good deal, I'll say.
very good deal. But it doesn't pay the bills, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
$27. And then, the most that I had made that year was $5,000, up until that point. So when I met Justin, really got to know him at that retreat, we were headed into Q4 of that year, and the clock was running down on my previously declared time of December 31st. So, yeah, things were looking bleak up until that point.
So then what happened? Everybody's ready. We're
Yeah,
excited to hear.
yeah. So, at the retreat, Justin really challenged me. I had some preconceived ideas about what sales was. I really felt prior to that point that sales was kind of this icky, sleazy, yucky process. And Justin really challenged my beliefs around that. And he said, what if sales was being able to share what you love? And what if sales is being able to tell people in an excited way about what you do? And what if sales is an opportunity to help people in areas that they feel challenged in, and using, your God-given gifts. And
Mm.
when he asked me those questions, I thought, oh my gosh, I hadn't really considered it like that. And then,
Mm.
he took us through a session, and one of the questions that he asked us afterwards and asked us to journal about was, what would happen if everything changed? So, if all the things that you were feeling challenged by or struggling with in your business, if everything changed, what would that look like? And I actually came across that journal entry. I saved my
Oh,
journal
cool.
from the retreat. And I reread that, and I said to Justin, the answer to that question is I'm living that right now. Um,
Wow.
and so I don't know if other people, are having that experience, but that has definitely been my experience. So I went from, not being profitable for about 7 years to, earning about $5,000 in 2020 for the first 3 quarters of the year. And then at the retreat, I made the decision and took a leap of faith And within the first couple of weeks of the retreat, I not only said yes to joining Justin's mastermind, but I first booked, I had $20,000 in booked sales. I had $40,000 in booked sales, booked revenue by the end of 2020.
Yeah.
And I've exceeded the $80,000 mark this year so far in my business since that time.
Wow.
So from $27 for my programs to, I feel like a different person. I really do.
We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary
Yes.
of the arrival is a dramatic word, but that's what we'll use for now until we
Okay.
find something more accurate.
Okay.
We'll call it the arrival of Trish Marmo Day. We'll have to pick
Yes.
exactly what the day was in October
October 6th.
6th. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That
Yep.
is Trish Marmo. You know what? Hold on.
Yep.
Hold on. I need to put that in my calendar real quick.
Yep.
All right. Trish Marmo Day.
Yes.
And we will celebrate that
I love that
because,
because October is also my birth month. So
ooh, fun. Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, it's so great that, you joined the mastermind and you came to the retreat and you're an F2I story. But in reality, what really made this shift was you making that decision
Yes.
to to change those things. Justin couldn't have changed those things for you. He helped you. He gave you the right questions, the right prompt, but
Correct.
you are the one who ran with that. And we can take as much credit as we like, but the reality is you're the one that did it.
Thank
So
you.
what advice do you have to the other people who are in a similar spot as you and
Yeah.
they want the results that you got?
Yeah. I would say that the most important takeaway or component of that is to take action. I would say prior to that point, I'd convinced myself that I was taking action. I was information gathering and, really trying to understand. It wasn't that I had limiting beliefs around money per se, but that I just didn't understand how sales could be so effortless.
Hmm.
And I knew that the way that Justin taught his content really was resonating with me. And so it was really, I had gotten to the point where I thought, and I mentioned this before, I really have nothing to lose.
Mhm.
I felt really no business investing in a mastermind when I was not, at a point in my business still, where I was profitable enough. But I felt so strongly that I had an opportunity. And if I really showed up and immersed myself in the content and the information that Justin was sharing, that I could really, make some concrete changes. So it was really twofold. It was the decision to take action.
Mhm.
And one of the things that Justin encouraged was, setting a future date. And so very rapidly, I believe I texted Justin from the airport after I had said no to joining the mastermind. I was on the plane in the seat. They were closing the doors and I was like, I'm in. I think I'm in. And
That's so fun.
yeah. And then immediately while I was in the air, I was looking on my calendar. When am I going to have my retreat dates? I was making, lists of to-dos and I was really ready to take action. So when my plane landed, I hit the dirt running and, that momentum that I had then has carried forward this entire year so far.
That's great.
I will share, and I have not shared this in our mastermind group, but I shared in an email to people who are on my newsletter emailing list that I am currently looking at property in Bluffton, South Carolina, which is going to be the future home of my wellness retreats. And so I flew up there this week to take a look at the property.
Oh, it's so exciting.
It's such a departure of where I was from versus where I am now.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
super exciting.
So 1 year ago, I'm going to shut down the business at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And now you are I'm going to go fly around and find a property to buy wherever
Yes.
I want.
Correct.
To run my business. Wow.
Correct. Yeah.
So cool. I'm trying to put it in the most dramatic way possible right there.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, it seems like two polar opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's absolutely 100% the truth.
Yeah. So cool. So the last question I'll ask, and I want to highlight this because I really hope that the right person can hear this. Your story is similar to some, but not for everybody.
Correct.
Some people have different things, and I know that they're going to take a lot from your tips and hearing your story, but I really hope that the right person hears this, because your business had done $5,000 in the first 9 months, which means that you're doing a little over $500 per month. And we haven't shared the price with everybody yet of the mastermind, but it's well over $500. They already know this at this point. The expectation is set, and that we're going to share it with them in a little over an hour. So you decided to take on expense that was larger than your current revenue.
Correct.
Which was scary.
Yes.
So why did you make that decision? And for that person who's listening, that right person, what do they need to hear to be in the same situation that you are and experience what you had? Why'd you join?
That's a really great question. I have to say that the biggest reason was that I prayed about it. And I really felt like the answer to that question and to my prayer was to take action around that. I didn't know how things were going to shake out. I didn't know. I really thought at one point, Trish, what are you doing? Like, why? This doesn't even make sense. And I just felt very strongly that this was the right decision. There wasn't a point in which I thought, oh no, there was no like buyer's remorse or anything like that. I did have a fallback plan, if I wasn't able to accomplish my goals somehow. But I never really felt like it wasn't going to work out. I just had a very strong sense that it was the right choice. It didn't make sense on paper, but I knew internally that it was the right choice, and that missing piece that I had referred to, I really felt like what Justin was offering was the missing piece. I was really convinced of that. So that's really how I came
what's
to that.
so cool is that there are some people that want it to work on paper, and there are some people that make the decision a little bit more emotionally. You tend to be the paper person, is what it sounds like. You want it to work on paper. This decision didn't work on paper, but now you know what? It just might for future people, because of what you've done. They've seen that this is possible. And so you've
Correct.
made it work, not
Yes.
just emotionally feel right, but now it works on paper, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So the reflection that I have that I want to share with everybody is that the reason that it worked for Trish is because she was clear. She was clear on moving forward and she was willing to take action. So if you're considering joining the mastermind and you're on the edge, I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to take action? Am I clear that if I take action, I know that I can move in the right direction? You don't have to know all of the answers. And then the most important thing to do is pray about it.
100%.
Because, I mean, what God gave you in that moment is he gave you reassurance in the uncertainty. Just because you made the decision doesn't mean that you weren't like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? There's still a lot of uncertainty,
Right.
but you had, I mean, you just gave it to God. God had you in that. And if he had told you, I'm not really sure about this, then that would have
Right.
been your answer and that would have been fine as well.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
I mean, I'm kind of talking off the cuff a little bit here, but that's what I love
Yeah.
about the fact that our business is Christian is the fact that we can encourage you and everyone else out loud.
Yes.
We want you to pray about this decision. That's the best way to make this. And that's how we can really come to a win-win here for both sides,
Absolutely.
as when we bring God into it. So thank you for bringing that into the conversation. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here. Is there any last words that you have for peeps as we hop off?
I just want to say I love you guys. I am one of your biggest fans. And I would say to anybody who's considering joining, you will not regret it 1 minute. It's a great group of people. Justin, McCall, Grace, just a wonderful team. The fact that you lead with such integrity and in a very faith forward way. It's just been a wonderful environment in which to grow my business. And I'm really thankful. I remember when we had closing ceremonies at the retreat, it was incredibly emotional and I cried like a baby. I felt sad because I was frustrated that I couldn't see a way forward.
Mm,
And it was really through prayer that exactly what you said, that God, spoke to me and said, I'm going to find a way forward for you. You just have to trust me. So I'm
mm.
so grateful that I did. And it's been a fantastic experience.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Trish. Thank you for those who are watching today. We love you guys. Good luck with your decision. Take these tips from Trish and run with it. We'll see you in the masterclass here in about 45 minutes.
All right. Thanks, McCall.
See ya.
All
Thanks,
right.
Trish.